You wake up and both your teams lost.
But at least we're giving them some good weather, right? It's a Monday, so we've got some good
Looks
news.
gorgeous.
Yes, it's going to warm up in the Midwest here. That's key. Also, we go from what's happening from the Midwest warming up, the Northeast still chilly. But looking at the South, we've had a chilly start for some of you in parts of Florida, yes. Other spots, though, will be warming up. So let's say good morning to you in Miami. We look out this morning, camera shaking a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit breezy out here, to say the least. We're going to have some east winds. You know what I say? There's nothing good about an east wind. And if you're on the east coast of Florida, that's what you're saying this week, because it's going to keep the rip current risk up right through the week ahead. And so even if you're thinking about doing swimming, it's going to be a bit brisk out there. So let's take a look at what's going on. High pressure, as we see right now, actually affecting us here over the state. We are going to be watching those east winds continuing to just blast right along the eastern seaboard and right along the east coast of Florida in particular. That brings up the rip current risk as we see that persistent flow of moisture, of water right on shore. Moderate risk from Jacksonville Beach near Smyrna Beach, Cocoa Beach, and then Miami Beach, a higher risk. It's also going to be windy, as you saw from the camera there in Miami Beach. So just being out on the sand, you'll have that sand blasting affecting you as well. Nicer, though, for you, even though it's going to be windy around the Tampa Bay area and on beaches out here towards Clearwater, but you won't have that rip current risk to deal with there. All right, let's take a look out there right now. This one coming to us from Boynton Beach, Florida, where this persistent onshore flow actually causing beach erosion at Boynton Beach. Yeah. This is quite a cliff, 2.5 feet. Wow, significant.
Yeah. It's what you don't want to see, but we've had that persistent onshore flow a lot.
Nothing good about it
on the East Coast, right? As you always say, and I've now come to agree with you.
Kind of a big picture. No, it is. See, look, this is the real deal. You're on the Weather Channel. You're watching the Weather Channel. Real deal, big picture, big weather stories for today. We've got a number of things from across the country to share with you, starting with what's happening in the West and all the active weather and how that's going to play into what's going on across the rest of the nation this week. We also have big high pressure. It's moving along, which will be bringing us some of the cold out from the east. All right, so let's throw down and throw back on the wall some of the maps that we're looking at. When it comes to this big area of low pressure, this big dip in our jet stream, this big trough across the southwest, it's going to keep us wet again today and for a couple of days because that high pressure is everything all blocked up to the east. So from Albuquerque to Phoenix to Salt Lake City, we've got to look at the chance of showers and storms yet again today. And yes, there could be thunderstorms. There could be some hailers out there again today. All right, Matt. Back to the maps on the floor, and we've got temperatures rebounding big time. It's very chilly this weekend for a lot of you, from the Midwest to the Northeast, even into the South. You were dealing with it, where temperatures were running not just below average, but for some of you, you had your first freeze of the season. Minneapolis, that was you. Chicago burbs, that was also you. But now look what's happening. Temperatures are warming back up, and instead of feeling like mid-October, it's going to be more like mid-June. Why not? All right, back to the floor, and we've got the tropics to watch. It is October, but this is the time of year when, in October, you watch what's happening across the Gulf of Mexico, closer to home. And there are two places we got to watch. We'll show you what's happening there and how that interaction is going to bring the moisture back in to parts of the Gulf Coast, Sam.
I love, Jen, that you call it.
Someone who's from maybe Arizona, not used to the chill. It did feel chilly this weekend in D.C. to a lot of folks, though, and it still does this morning. Freeze warning was in effect there. It's still until 9 o'clock today, but temperatures are going to rebound. And the thing is, when you start in the upper 20s, low 30s, some of the burbs are in the upper 20s, 58 degrees actually is going to feel really nice this afternoon. And then look what happens. 77 degrees for a high temperature by Thursday. Forget all about this cold snap that we had this weekend and today. So your Monday is starting off on a chilly note, and some cold air that moved over the Great Lakes, moved into the Northeast, all the way into the deep South. You felt it. That's going away as high pressure moves off the eastern seaboard, and then the winds turn from the south, and it's going to be breezy, but it's going to be a warm wind, and temperatures do warm up above average, big time actually. Dodge City 82, Lincoln, Nebraska 84, St. Louis 76 degrees, Chicago. I know your Cubs lost, and so did your Bears, but you've got some really warm temperatures coming up, so that's the positive side of things. Like to spin it for you. St. Louis and Little Rock and Kansas City all going to stay above average into tomorrow, into the middle of the week. You know, we were kind of stuck in that chilly pattern through the weekend, but now we're kind of stuck in this warmer pattern through the first half of the week, and we'll see it eventually get to the east too. Look at Wednesday, New York City, we're back to the 70s. You'll forget all about how cold you were this morning as you went out to shiver and get your mail or your paper, if anyone still gets the paper, take the dog out, take the kids to the bus stop, all of that. that. You'll forget about that by the time we get to the end of the week. And temperatures warm up to the mid to upper 70s into the south as well. Raleigh, it was a chilly weekend for you. We had some first frosts of the season, but we'll be warming back up by the time we get to the end of the week.
Yeah, it's funny because now you're right. You don't go outside to get the paper anymore. It's like right there on your iPad.
We still do.
Do you? Do you open the door and get it off?
Yeah, that's right, Anna Rittis, and we're going to talk about Kapu Gin. What's interesting about that is, you know, that we've had so much activity out there in the Western Pacific Ocean, and you think about in just the Pacific in general, it's almost like our 2005 out there. And
for them,
for
in
them,
the Pacific,
right? In the Pacific.
Yeah, the Atlantic side of things, you know, but this point in October, you might think, oh, the Atlantic's shutting down.
Yes.
Well, not the case, and certainly not the case in 2005.
No, and really quickly, before we get to what's happening right now, because there is an area to watch in the Western Caribbean, this was Hurricane Wilma 10 years ago, almost to the hour. This one was the strongest hurricane we've ever seen in the Atlantic Ocean. That small little eye there, about 2 miles across.
Eye.
Yeah,
2
never
miles.
seen.
Can you imagine?
Never seen anything like it. In the central dense overcast, the high cirrus clouds above, just telling you how intense those thunderstorms were. Just bump up against the troposphere, and the clouds spreading out across the Caribbean Sea. An incredible, incredible sight, and something I hope we never see again.
You fast forward to the same area today, much different,
yes.
Much different. However, there's still some areas to watch, right? Some thunderstorm clusters.
Yeah, so this is an area just now in from the Hurricane Center that they're designating as an area to watch. That clouds and the storms. Right now, it's kind of hugging the coast. There's a cold front here to the west of it. We were sort of focusing over here earlier, and that's where our last invest was. But you can see there's not a whole lot down there. There's
really
not a lot of thunderstorms and not a lot of spin.
It's so close to land.
Right, it is. So this one's the one that they're saying, well, if it gets into the Gulf, maybe if the waters are warm enough there, that we could see some possible development. But look, we've been saying all morning long, guys, is that it doesn't really take an organized tropical entity to cause some problems and to bring the tropical moisture up. And that's, I think, what we're going to see later this week and especially into this weekend.
I mean, high pressure right now has been controlling the entire Midwest, Northeast, Southeast weather. However, when that moves away, it allows an avenue for this moisture to come up.
Exactly right. You're going to see that tropical moisture being pulled up by midweek into South Texas. And really, that's just the start of everything. We're going to have an upper level disturbance that moves in, all of that tropical moisture sitting there. So potentially heavy rainfall going into the weekend.
Yeah, the Texas story, right? They went from deep drought to flood to drought, maybe
back to hopefully not.
Hopefully not flood, but we'll watch it. All right, Sam.